Okay, guys, we'll finish up here with Litecoin. That was our last contender here on the day. Now, I'm trying to keep this relatively brief. Now, my thinking here is I want to walk us through an alternate. Now, we've been operating on the assumption that with the low end down here with $22 here, I'm on Coinbase. At $22 that with lows in, and we're putting in the impulsive structure here to give us a one wave, and then the anticipation would be, if it's not unreasonable that we've got the pivot in up here, that we're just going to do some sort of an ABC. We'll come right into our anticipated zone between the 50 and the 618, excuse me. Then we do something like this, and we finish up here. And that put us maybe around 300. Right, and that put us well into 2020. So another 6-7 months, right? Just kind of eyeballing structure here and timeline. It's not unreasonable. So, and we can also look here and say, well, okay, so from this pivot here, we're through the 65. Right, so we keep carrying back. Go to the next one. Now we've gotten through the 50. We're not to the 618 yet. But you have to ask yourself, well, if this keeps going, how are we going to deal with that? So we go back to this one, then eventually you're all the way back to from our pivot up here at our peak at 421. Well, that would put our wave 3 up here at 267. So you can kind of see how that may well make sense. The issue is if we keep going in this current wave structure that we're in, are we just extending the one and then the whole thing just moves up along with it? Or is there another count here that we may want to consider? So if this is the count that holds, and we hold this pivot here, then the anticipation is that this is what's likely coming next, right? It's always about probabilities here. So the more probable structure would be that we'd have at least a well, let's call it a 38% minimum, but ideally somewhere between the 50 and the 618 for the 2, right, before we push up. Well, so if that's the case and you're inclined to be on the buy side here, as I am, for the majors, then you're in a hurry up and wait, let this retracement come, and we'll look for the next opportunity to buy into the 2, anticipating the 3, 4, and 5 still yet to come. Well, let's just pause for a second and consider an alternate and how we might have to deal with this if this is going to keep going. Because there have been some assumptions made here. And as you just saw, those of you that watched the total market cap video here, there's some alternates here that need to be considered. So I think you'd have to consider this the primary, but I would have this alternate as a close contender here based on if we continue to get legs here and move higher. So I'm going to go from the daily. Let's look at the 3-hour here. Okay, so one thing to note here per that count. Right, this was just remarkable. All right, so I guess we can get this off here. All right, so if the 3, 4 is in and we've gone and just put in the 5, well, we've got a completed impulse. We've got all the subdivision to give us a completed impulse. That would imply our one wave may very well be in. Now we're anticipating, well, so one wave would be up here, let's call it 144, and that we'd be looking for under 100, certainly into that 80 to 70 to 80 range, still there. Okay, so 81 to 70, call it, for the proposed wave 2. Well, now you'll see here from within this subdivision here, we get this perfect, to the tick, right? So again, it's just as I showed you with the market cap, right? So you have to have these on your chart, right? So it's to the tick. So you get this golden corner here. So swing high, swing low, golden corner, it gets the 80%, right? So there's my favorite trade. Right to the second algo target, hits the median line to the tick. Now we have this reaction. So it's very easy to look at that and think, oh, okay, well, we've got all the subdivision I need, the impulse with an impulse with an impulse. I finish with an impulse. I tag a median line at the second target. Okay, well, here we go. This correction's underway. And that may very well be where we are and what happens. So I would stay with this as the primary count. So this looks like could just be the 1, 2 of the A, but well, that's hard to call it, right? So, but we'd be looking for something down here, maybe towards the point of control as it relates to what you can see here. So this being that, as I just said, between 70 and 80 would be our 50%. Well, you can see it here, right? So if we're just going to play straight Elliott ball and we're going to come down here, that's a reasonable spot to be looking. Now, for me, I'm not dying to get short here. So if that's going to come down, I'm going to wait for the buying opportunity. Obviously, this will be some structure we'll have to deal with here, and that will be, what's that? That's right around 100. So that would be shallow. If this is going to go 1-2, right, strength of the market, it may just be what we end up dealing with. But there is an alternate that we got to consider here. So let's take this off here. Now with that established here, we've got that pivot. So we know this was a technical pivot. So first move down looks like a diagonal. So it's either the A, B, or the 1-2 that's going in now. All right, so again, this would be the primary, but I thought it might be worthwhile to consider this alternate. So let me pull this stuff off here, and let's just do this kind of on the fly, because the market cap video had me thinking maybe. So how are we going to reconcile this if we just keep going here? Well, it's again much like the market cap video. I think there's an alternate here that needs to be considered. So I'm going to pull this off. All right, so here's the alternate that occurs to me that we may want to consider. I think we can just do this on the fly. So I think you can consider let me do it this way. The possibility here from our low to this pivot swing here. All right, this is the deepest retracement we've had. Now look, we're between the 38 and the 50. We don't quite make the 50, but this is a reasonable candidate because of the depth of it and what's followed. I think it's not unreasonable to think that we've got the 2 already in, that we've gone 1-2, and we are now in this case would be we are in the third of the next degree. So let me show you how that would work. So this would have to be our 3, I think it's here, 3, 4. Oh shit, wrong one. So this would be 3, 4. All right. So note here, spared the overlap. All right. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A, B, C. We don't overlap the 1. I can finish and I get a kicker in the 5. So what would that mean? That would mean that I've got my 1 wave in here, which is what we all were kind of thinking when it made that move, that the 5 was in, and then we keep going, and you look at it and you think, oh, okay, well, let's look at the oscillator. So the Elliott oscillator, here's your peak. So this is the logical place. Look at that spike of volume. This is the logical place for the 3. But I think given what's followed, it's not unreasonable to consider that we may have the 1-2 already in. So I'm going to lower this degree here just for this a little exercise we're going to do here. So from that low here, if this is the 1 and this is the 2, well, I'm going to put 3, 4, and 5 up here, and let's get that degree. Let's go back to subminuet, and we'll go to we'll do it in blue. Okay, so is this a 1-2? I think we got to consider this. So I would have this certainly as an alternate to allow for the price to continue on. Okay, if that's the 1-2, well, let's just think about that. So this would be the larger degree. Yeah, we can do it this way. Do I need this? Okay, I guess I don't need that. Okay, so let's go 1, 2 here of the larger degree. So the assumption is the 2 now is in, and it's going to be relatively shallow, yet not so abnormally shallow. So you'd have to so this A, B, C is a little funky because the A is so abrupt, right? So the symmetry is off, right? I recognize that. Okay, let me pull this with that established here. So now we look at what's happened here. Well, if this is 1-2, again, just standard ops here. So if we're going to go from the low here, if that's the 1, that's the 2 here, and it's going to be shallow, well, then we've got a reasonable target for this third. Got to get those bigger numbers. Where are you? Come here. Okay, so this we got to have 3, 4, and 5. Got to bear with me. Get them back down here. Okay. Well, let's think about that. So if this is the 1 projected from the proposed 2, here's a reasonable target. Now, because of the shallowness, right? So remember, it's always just kind of a shorthand. Because of the shallowness here, we don't even make the 50, so you get the gap between the 1618 and the negative 100. But still a reasonable target here for our 3, our 4, and our 5 we'll put up here. 1-2. Well, where are we now? Well, of course, nothing says we have to stop here at the 1618. That could easily go to the 2618. So again, the idea being, if this is going to keep going, let's pull some of this off and see if the subdivision supports that thinking. Well, I can certainly get an impulse from that low, right? And remember, we tagged a perfect median line here at a technical pivot at the negative 618, the second algo target. So from this low, let's dig in here. If this is 1, 2, do I have this right? Well, from this 2, so you can see the subdivision here, it's open to some interpretation. So here's the other thought. So let me pull this down here. I'm going to do this on the fly here. I think I can do it fairly quickly. Okay, so there's a candidate now. We might be revisiting this. So there's the 3. There's the 4. So it looks like we'd be A, B, C down here into the 4. Again, note we don't overlap the 1. I've got a clean impulse here, so I can go 1, 2, 3, A, B, C into the 4. Another impulse. So we can get it. So it's skinny 2. Come here. So we can get it this way. Oh, shit, where'd it go? Oh, here we go. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's go down sub, and we'll go to what am I not using here? We'll go to green. Okay, so I've got my impulse. So I've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where am I? Where am I if that's done? 1. So I can get the 1, 2. Let's just check the measure. Okay, so always want to check them just for guidance. 1, 2. Well, here's another thought. So here's the 1618. So maybe the 3's here, and I'm gonna have to dig more into that subdivision. So let me just finish this out here. So then we're looking for depth of retracement. Well, let me pull this out. If this is 3, this could also be the 4. Right? We don't overlap here. What if that's the 5? Okay, so from that 2, that would give me a candidate for the 1, 2 of the next degree, whether it's going to be A, B. I think we have to do it here, so to accommodate that little 1, 2. Well, let's measure it, see how it lines up. So from the low here to the pivot, what do? Right to the 50. Right. So now we're in more traditional retracement range for a 1, 2. So potentially now we've got 1, 2 at this degree, and then could that be 3? Well, it doesn't look like it's long enough. So this is open to interpretation here. So I can get impulse here, I can get impulse here, I can get impulse here. But you can't trade it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 because 3 would be the shortest. So we'll just look at the wave relationships between the two of them. So if that's I'll use the lower one here. Well, it looks like that's my 2. They're within a tick or 2. So here's the 100. So we can't go 1, 2, 3. Right, so 3 would be the shortest. Well, what about 1, 2? Okay, let's think about that, right? So we're getting more and more bullish. So let me get the next degree up here. Oh, so I need this here at a higher degree. So let's go 1, 2. Let me get these up here and get that degree up. Let's go, we'll go sub, we'll go into, we'll go yellow here just for something we haven't used. Okay, so potentially now 1, 2. I can't be 3. What does that leave, right? So it can only be another 1, 2. So from that low, what do we do here? Right, well, we got to tick through the golden zone, right? But it wouldn't DQ it and the ABC seems to be, well, it looks like that could be a, we get 5 in there. Yeah, I guess we can. So we can get an ABC here. So this would be another candidate for another 1, 2, right? 3. Now this may well qualify for a 3. So let's consider that 1. So if this is 1, 2, oh, I got to go up a degree. Shit. Okay. All right. This is why I encourage you guys to do this color changing and color coding. Okay. So we'll go back to blue. Ah, shit. Blue's right on that next degree. Let's go back to green. Okay. So 1, 2, 1, 2. All right, we're getting more and more bullish. Okay, so let's measure here. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Could that be 3? Doesn't look like it's long enough. This is a lot of 1, 2s. All right, so there's the 1, 2. Well, it is. So we are long enough. So we get the 2, 7, 2. So we could have 3, 4. Looks like it could be going in. So we got to pay attention to the wave 1 pivot. All right, we're looking for an impulse here. So this would be potentially an area to be focusing on as invalidation, or at least having to change the count. Right, so we put this up here. So this would be, well, so we've already hit the 38. We're going to come down here. You've got a little window here. This would be if you were looking to get long here for the idea that we're going 3, 4, 5 into that. This would be your, you could put your stop just under the 50. Right, no reason to take it down. That's allowing for maybe a wick spike that would tag that, but put it under the 50 here, as if this is correctly identified, there should be algorithmic support there. Doesn't mean it couldn't go to the 618 or the golden zone, but that's a reasonable place for a low risk entry, looking for a little, little swing trade here. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 3, 4, 5. What would that be finishing us? That would potentially be a contender to finish the 3. Right, we'd be right up here at the 1, 6, 1, 8. That would leave the 4 and the 5 still to come, but we'd be at a different degree. So I'm going to change this, put that degree in white here so I don't lose it. Okay, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would be 3, 4, and 5. So that would complete at this degree here. Oh, I'm going to put you in white too because I'm just make it easier to see. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where does that put us? So that would be, let's go back here. So from the low, 1, 2. Well, here's our high probability zone. So that lines up. We got an algo target right here if that's going to kick. So this 3 looks pretty like a reasonable candidate here for this count. Come down for the 4, up for the 5. So where would we be here? Could this be 1, 2, 3 up here at 173? Doesn't look like it's long enough, does it? All right. So if we go, let's put it back together here. Let's let me scrunch back. Okay. So 1, 2. Could that, so here's the big 3, 4, 5. So the theory being that we've gone 1, 2, we're still seeking the 5 of the 1 off of the low at 22. So let me get some of this out of here so we can see it a little better. I got a lot of levels wicked off here because there's so much looking left here, but let's open this up a little bit. Okay, so could that work? 1, 2. Let's think about the larger degree where that 3 could be going. So if that's 1, and this is the 2, puts our 3 up here, right? Kind of. So note here where we've got the 1, 6, 1, 8 right on top of the negative 100. Right. So this could be 3, 4. That means we're going to need a bigger 5 here. So 3, 4. We don't know where that stops, but if that's going to go up and give us the 3, 4, 5 of the 3, 4, 5. So let me kind of see if I can draw it for you. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at that degree would be giving us the 3 relative to this as the 1, down for the 4. Down for the 4, up for the 5. Here's our, well, we'll just use the 200 here. That looks like reasonable, but certainly we could go to the 2, 6, 1, 8. So now, does that make any more sense? So let's get a, we can do it this way. Well, actually, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to come from this one, something along these lines. Here, do we have a channel that's going up here to give us the 3? That gives us a little structure for the 4, for the 5 up here, and put it over 200. I think this is a reasonable candidate. So the bigger picture, so with this now established, we'd be looking for, at the largest degree, 1, 2, 3, 4, up for the 5. All right, so if we get that, right, looks like, well, pretty good symmetry. Right now, I'm just forecasting here to have an alternate in case we keep going. So if we're up here, that's 220. Now let's go back to that daily and see where that would put us in the context of where we can anticipate some algorithmic selling pressure off of the absolute high. Well, we may need the absolute high, but let's just try it. So from the absolute high, right, that would put us right at the golden. Well, it would put us first here. The first target here would be the 50, right? So we'd be at the halfway back. Now, does that's going to imply, right? Let's make note of this. That's going to imply a target of -70, right? So we know that's not going to be realized, Right, but it doesn't. There will still be software here. So there will still be selling pressure here. It's not until we get through this that we're clear skies. So kind of interesting. Right? So I thought this was kind of inspired by the thinking we put into the total market cap idea. So if we're going to keep going, you've got to have an alt put together to accommodate that. So I would keep this. If you keep 1, 2, maybe 3 alts, and this isn't funky enough in there that you could certainly keep multiple counts on this. I think this is worth keeping as an alternate to consider. Would put our wave 1 at the very largest degree going in up here at about 222. Well, then the correction that you'd be anticipating, because you're still looking for the larger degree 2, might put you down here around 100, and there's your big 3 at the largest degree. 1, 2, looking for the big 3 at that degree. Now we're back up here challenging the old highs at 400 in the third, which was implied we're going to take out the old highs. Something to consider. I don't know that I would have this as my primary unless I see more bullish action going on here as we come off of this. But it's worth considering. So as I always suggest, you want to have, if for no other reason, then go through that process of thinking, first assumption, okay, let's assume I'm wrong. Right? So as we sit here and put in the wave 1 high is already in, well, let's assume we're wrong. So is there an alternate that would make sense given all of the subdivision we can see along the way? Right? If for no other reason, just the exercise of seeing if you can create that and stay within Elliott rule set, I think is a worthwhile exercise. That way you've got an alternate. So if this just keeps rolling, you're not fumbling around going, God, what the hell? What could this be? You've already done that work. So you know what to anticipate. Now, likely you'll make some changes along the way, tweak some things, some other smaller degree counts will get invalidated, and you'll have to recalibrate it. But right now, this is a very reasonable contender. So just some fuel for thought here. Still, as far as I'm concerned, there is no reason to be selling here in the majors. No reason at all. Whether that's the 1 that's in, we're coming down for the 2. It's my opinion, right, for what it's worth, we're on the buy side. Okay, guys, that'll do it for today.